Welcome to Retire with Integrity, brought to you by the Integrity Financial Planning Team. Here's the number to call, 866-2-PLAN-4, 866-TO-PLAN, and the number 4. You hear something on the show, you want to talk to Brian and his team. Brian, I don't know if you saw this, but a woman in Lakewood, Washington, was recently trying to escape in a car that she had stolen from her mother. Unfortunately for her, work crews were pouring concrete for a stretch of pavement, and she drove the stolen Mini Cooper right into the fresh concrete and got stuck. She had her 4-year-old son and a bottle of whiskey with her in the car.
I don't think she's going to qualify for the private wealth division.
I don't think she is either.
Maybe. I don't know. Mini Coopers are BMWs. You know that. They're actually supposed to be really nice cars. They're teeny.
My mom has one.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you driven it?
I have, yeah. It's actually a lot of fun. It's pretty stripped down. There's not a lot to it.
They're so low to the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I drive trucks, so when you get in a little car like that, I feel like my butt's scraping on the
I'm
ground.
6'5", dude. It's like a monkey riding a football. It is not a good look
I
for
would
me.
like a picture of that. I'm going to ask your dad to take a picture next time you drive it.
So there's been a lot of talk about hurricanes, and I know this is a kind of a weird parallel, but hurricanes and retirement planning, since much of the East Coast has recently spent a lot of time watching the Weather Channel and getting a refresher on how hurricanes work. Let's take the opportunity to see what we can learn about retirement planning from a discussion about hurricanes, namely the eyewall replacement cycle.
Yeah. So the strongest winds in a hurricane are the winds that are closest to the center, right? That make up the eye wall. So during the life cycle of a hurricane, these inner winds can sometimes weaken and then get replaced by bands from the outer part of the storm. The process is basically like the hurricane's shedding its dead weight, which allows it to become more intense and powerful as it replaces its eye wall. Right?
Did you go to business college, or were you a meteorologist? Look
Yeah,
at you, man.
I'm a meteorologist.
That's impressive, dude.
Yeah. So they're very interesting. Have you seen some of I don't know if you've watched like the old tornado.
Oh, yeah. I'm from Illinois.
Twister and all those. There's a new one that actually wasn't bad. I mean, the acting was horrible, but the storyline is great, right? And it's how these
Is it called Sharknado?
Actually, I can't remember what it's called. I had watched it recently. But anyways, the point is that these storm chasers, they literally go right down to see the storm because they got to put their instruments in it and measure all this. And
they build these crazy vehicles that can withstand.
Right.
Yeah.
And but anyway, so many ways, obviously your retirement plan should work in a similar way. As you get older and you're closer to retirement. And that's different for everybody who's like, oh, I'm not 65, I can't retire. No, we got people retired at 50, 55. We've got people that are retiring at 75 because they just love what they're doing and they don't want to quit. Or sometimes they're forced to quit. But I think at some point you need to shed some of those investments that are more focused on growth and shift instead of preservation and income. We had a recent prospective client that came in. He had a good sum of money, and his big thing was I would need to preserve his word, not mine.
Like how much money are we talking?
Altogether, it's about $3 million is what he had in the stock market.
Okay.
And I didn't know that when he was talking to me because we don't ask any of those questions in the first, at least for an hour. I don't care.
Yeah.
I want to know what they want to accomplish, what kind of person they are, what's important to them, their family. My goals are this. I want to retire in a year. And all that was very important to find out before we get to how much he had, right? And the point is that he's like, I want to preserve. I'm tired of this, the back and forth, the yo-yo. And I said, well, it's not been that important to you because you're still working. He still has a very good job. He's working for the same company over 40 plus years. And, for them to fire him at this point is just like impossible because, they can't.
He knows too much. Yeah.
Yeah, he knows too much.
They take 4 people to replace him.
Exactly. They can't find anybody that can do what he's doing. Right?
Yeah.
And they're very disappointed when he's going to retire. But the point is that he knows he already knows he's read enough about things on the news and magazines and everything that my income source has to be more secure, and I don't want to take this almost $3 million and just put it in the stock market and then I'm taking income from it and it drops over 20% like this year has happened because there's something called sequence of returns. Basically, I'm going to say it as easy as I can explain sequence of returns. You can get a lower rate of return and have more money. And I said that right. You can have a lower rate of return and have more money at the end. Besides, if you were taking money from a higher more volatile account.
Yeah.
And you could at the end have a higher rate of return, right? The average rate of return, internal rate of return, however you want to calculate it, the cumulative annual growth rate, doesn't matter which way you do it. And you could run out of money.
So this is slow and steady wins a race.
Yeah, because
is that what this is?
Right,
basically?
because you're taking it from, there's a lot of fixed income products that you can go to or fixed products, but the idea is that you're taking it from a more conservative. Like we have clients who are like, I don't want to go into anything I have to lock myself into 7 or 10 years, but I need income of 2 or 3% in my portfolio. I'm like, well, you're in all growth stocks with your broker at Morgan Stanley. Like you're not getting any dividends. Let's put you in a dividend portfolio. It's kicking out about 2.8%. Hopefully it goes up. And you got your income, but you don't have to sell any stocks when they've dropped this year. So they're not selling at the bottom. That's the problem with sequence returns, right? You are selling right now. If you're taking income from a portfolio that's down 20%, your real rate of return isn't what it's going to show on the statement. Right. It's not the same.
Yeah.
And we have a calculator that kind of proves it. It's just hard to explain on the radio. But when you look at it, you can show someone that they got a lower rate of return, but actually had more money. It's math.
That's crazy.
It's insane. I had an engineer once. He's like, I want to see that calculation. I sent him the spreadsheet. It's a simple Excel sheet. I said, go ahead, check it out. And let me know if it's wrong. He's like, yeah, you're right. Dang, that's crazy. And it's the same. My kids always struggle with. It's once you get into negative numbers, once you're getting into that's I think it might be 6th grade. I don't know, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, somewhere in there. And they
integers. What are we talking about?
Well, they start dividing numbers, negative numbers.
Yeah,
it confuses the life. Actually, I was talking to my son's math teacher last year about it, and they were I guess that was 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade. He was kind of getting into that, and he's like, their kids do great up until that point.
Yeah.
and he goes, well, your actually son, got that. He was one of them that kind of grabbed that and he understood it. But as soon as you say, because think about it, I'm going to do a test on you. Okay. I don't think I've done this.
All right.
Brett's going to get tested. If he wins this answer, let's see, what do we give him? Like
you have to buy me anything but a steak.
Okay, we'll buy you chicken tenders from McDonald's.
All right, I'm in.
Is that the best place? Ooh, that's awful. I'm not spending money at McDonald's. Anyway,
okay.
So you have $1,000 and you lose 50% in the market the first year.
Okay.
Okay, that's not the question.
Okay.
So the next year, the market goes up 50%. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So
$750. Oh, sorry.
I didn't ask a question.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What's your rate of return over the 2 years?
So I lost 50%, gained so 25. So I'm down 25%.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Wrong.
What?
It's 0. The minus 50, the plus 50, it cancels it out. That's the problem with mean or what's called average rate of return. As soon as you get into negative numbers, the math gets all fuzzy. Yeah, your portfolio, you are down 25%, right? You're correct, but that wasn't my question.
Okay.
So mutual funds do this, and they're like, oh, we got an 8% rate of return. That's true when you're growing the money. It's absolutely correct.
Okay, I got you.
As soon as you start taking out, it changes the net rate of return because you're selling. So if you had $1,000 and you sold to take out income when it was down 50%, you sold at the bottom. And so it's don't worry about it. I've had attorneys get that wrong. And they're pretty smart.
I was a math major in
I didn't have to buy them lunch. This is great. You were a math major?
I was, yeah.
Oh, geez.
So,
I'm glad he went to radio, but anyways.
We've only got a few minutes, but just back to the hurricane. What about power outages? How does that relate?
Well, I mean, you're facing a big storm. You cause you to be without power. It's important to make sure you're prepared, and that can be flashlights, batteries, a plan for your frozen refrigerated food. My friend that's down in Tampa, I was talking to him, and he's like, man, we got a generator. We're all set. I'm like, yeah, but if your house gets blown away with you and your kids in the house and your wife, who cares about the generator? You're dead, right? And I'm like, do you have a basement? He's like, nah, man, it's a low water table. I'm like, he's about 45 minutes, an hour from the coast. So he goes, the coast doesn't flood up here. It's not like that. And I was like, all right, I believe you. And he was fine. It missed Tampa pretty much anyways. But the point is he was prepared, right? He's like, oh, we got all this stuff. Like, he's like, I could live in here for a year without no power. We got gas. We got food. The kids are going to be fed. We got, all this stuff. Well, okay. He's prepared, right? He's got a plan. And he is a financial planner too. So that's, he not just plans in his financial life, but also outside of it. Right.
Yeah.
And so you got to have a plan for everything though. Like we've got a client that got really, really sick, a disease I can't even pronounce, honestly. It's so long. You have to be a doctor to even know what it is. Very rare disease. And it's really hard. It wasn't important to all the planning. He loved the plan that we put together for him a few years ago, right? I mean, it was like, oh gosh, we know we need to update our estate plan, and we know we need to change all that to our, beneficiaries to this, and we need to do this, and we need to do all the stuff he loved, right? The tax strategies, and it was everything he really wanted because he had a Edward Jones guy that just invested his money, and that's all they talked about. He went in and was like, well, we got you a 6% return, or we lost 20%. That's all or they tried to sell him a life insurance policy or whatever. It was like, he goes, I always felt like I was being sold. I'm like, well, because you were, because they are product salesmen, right?
Yeah.
And he was so excited about doing the plan, but, he retired and he wanted to visit the grandkids and it got, but now guess what? Life changes. A hurricane came in his life. And to see the desperation in his eyes and his wife's eyes when they were like, Brent, we got to get this done. All of a sudden it's urgent. They've been ignoring us for years because we continue to send emails. Hey, we got to set up an appointment and update your estate plan with the attorney. We got to change this on your accounts. We got to do this. We got to update that. We got to call that company, the life insurance company. I don't know who the beneficiaries is. Did you give it to the ex-wife or who, all this stuff. It's like these checklists that we have to do when you're preparing for a hurricane or you're preparing for retirement or you're preparing for death. I mean, it doesn't look good. Right? I mean, it looks like he possibly could die in the next 6 months. And now all of a sudden it's very urgent. I don't know if we're going to even be able to do everything we need to do because it's a lot of work, right? Real estate properties all over. We got to change deeds. We got to do all this stuff. And it's hard because it's almost hard to communicate with him at this point.
You talk about a hurricane of decisions. There you go right there. 866-2PLAN-4. That's the number to reach out to us. 866-TO-PLAN and the number 4. You can find us online at retirementplannow.com.